August 4th is when the new boss is releasing in this game, and I am absolutely not ready for this. I have recently taken some time off, in case you may or may not have noticed. I haven't posted properly in like 3 weeks, and I haven't done a single stream either. I had a trip for my stag do, and then I also had a family trip as well. It's been great, but now it's time to get back to the grind. I need to get prepared for this boss, so in this video, I will be going through everything that you and I probably need to do to make sure you are ready for Amascut dropping on August 4th. So with that being said, let's get started with a little bit of context of my goals. Okay, so my personal goals for Amascut when it releases is to be able to take on the boss on day one. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the race to world first. I don't place myself in the position of PvM to be able to probably take on the world first. I want to give it a go. I'm going to throw myself at it for the majority of time before the other actual options open up, but I don't expect to actually get through kills. We'll see what happens. However, my goals when the actual stuff does release is to be able to take on all of the other versions of the boss at some point during the first day. Just like with the other boss releases, I would love to have the opportunity to make myself mega rich by getting a drop on release day or very close to it at least. Getting day one drops has only happened to me once before, which was at Zamorak, which was a hell of a good boost in terms of GP. So with that being said, whether your goal is normal mode, the enraged mode, or whether you want to take on the world first, this list will hopefully help you get prepared to be able to get towards that sort of position. So let's start off with the quests. So the very first thing that you're going to have done before you even take on this boss is complete the quest that is going to be released on July 28th. The Eclipse of the Heart. This quest isn't out yet as of making this video, so you do have a bit of time to prepare for this quest, which is what I'll be doing as soon as this video is done. However, there is actually a wiki page ready for this quest, so you can check it out and I'll link it below. This will show you all of the previous quest requirements that you need to do yourself to have the actual prerequisites ready for when this does drop. Unfortunately, as you can see, I have quite a lot of work to actually get done on this. But on screen for you right now are all of the quest requirements that will lead up to Eclipse of the Heart, so make sure you've got all those checked off, or head to the wiki link itself, enter your name, and you'll get the same results as what I do here. So moving on, I'm going to talk about gear, and now I would mention levels, but this is going to be an end game boss, like a high level, hard, difficult boss. So ideally, just the higher level you are, the better, right? So there's not really much to talk about there. You're going to want to have your overload. You're going to want to have your best, like in slot familiar. You're going to want to make sure you're maxed out in your combat style, all that sort of stuff. So levels and stuff, not really much to talk about. Just be a high level, I guess. It's a high level boss. But gear is definitely something that you are going to want to consider, and having all of this sort of stuff prepared and ready to go. There's a few things that you could take into account, so let's talk about those. First of all, something that is always useful to have available on the actual release of new bosses is tank gear of whatever combat style you're looking at, because tank gear makes you take less damage and makes the bosses a lot easier. Now, when you start out on a new boss, you don't really need to just be able to blow it the hell up and get through it like that, because you kind of don't know what the hell's going on. You have no idea what the mechanics are. You want to get through the fight so you can see what's going to happen, and you can get an understanding and a feel for what's actually going on. So there's a good chance for myself that as long as magic is worthwhile using at the boss, which I pray to God of this because it's the common style that I'm going to be using, I will be using Crypt Bloom armor, because Crypt Bloom armor is going to mean that I can get through the boss further. And yes, it'll be slower slightly, and unless there's a DPS check that I see that I'm like, okay, nope, need to get the DPS gear out, then I will stick with this until I can see what the mechanics are, get comfortable with the fight, and then I'll swap back to the actual DPS gear. It just makes it easier that way. I don't care if people are like, oh, you're using New Bloom, grow up. It's fine. It's in the game for a reason. The point is to see what the fight is like, get comfortable with the mechanics, and then go from there. Another thing to consider about gear is having a second option available. Like I said, I will likely be using magic, but I also have my necromancy best in slot gear available to me too. The reason I have this ready is you never know. You might go in and suddenly magic is, yeah, don't use magic here. It is terrible. Don't bother. And then you can bring necromancy and happy days, you're all good. If you only have one combat style and then it just turns out to be really the worst option that you possibly have there, likely you'll be okay. You'll be able to take it on. You'll be able to grind through it. But if one combat style outshines by far, or if one falls behind by far, then at least you have another option available. If you can only get your hands on one combat style, to be honest, if I was going to suggest any, it would probably be necromancy. Necromancy is way more well-rounded. It offers the tank gear, it offers the cheap, like high-level DPS gear. It has all the sustainability. Necro's just way ahead in terms of like the beginner-friendly take on something new while surviving. Probably going to be your best option if you only have options for one. So while we're still kind of on the topic of gear, I figured it was worth quickly talking about the Shard of Genesis. Now, I wanted to get my hands on this before Amascut released, because of course I wanted to be as prepared as possible, and this is going to increase the damage I can deal to the actual boss when it does release. Now, this being a super hard, high-level boss, this is probably going to be super useful there. Like, having all of the possible DPS increases that you can get, you probably will notice a bit of difference. However, I highly doubt that you will be needing to have this absolutely to be able to take on the boss. Maybe for the world first race mode it could be like super useful, but in terms of just taking it on as a regular average player, you'll probably be okay without it. I just know that there's going to be some people wondering this, because I was focused a lot on getting the one for me. Unfortunately, you know, with not being here, being away and whatnot, I haven't got around to it yet, but there's still time. So if you have got the money for right now for a Shard of Genesis, it might be worth grabbing one and holding onto it, and then you can decide on what combat style to pop it onto when you actually get to the boss. Or it could be worth just being ready for it with it. But again, don't panic that you don't have this. Don't think like, oh, I can't do the boss until you've got it. It's not going to be the end of the world. But again, of course, I will be trying to get my hands on one or maybe two of these before the fight starts. I don't know where I'm going to get the gold from. I'm going to have to grind the crap out of it probably. We'll see what happens. Time for the very quick reminder that if you haven't clicked the sub button, it would help the channel out a ton, especially since I've not posted in a while while I was being away. It'll help YouTube know that you guys are still here and watching. But also many that think you are subbed actually aren't, so do check that you actually are, and I would appreciate it a ton if you help me move this graph. Let's get back to it. Moving on towards the last things for gear, I suppose, is going to be perks on gear and stuff. So I've got my Cripploom armor that I'm going to be checking all the perks on. I believe these aren't best in slot, unfortunately. And I'll be checking with Biting 3, like this is going to need changing for sure. And I'll be checking with my Necromancy gear too. And my magic gear, I guess, is fine for now. But as for the perks on this, I'm going to make sure that these are best in slot at the time. This one for sure needs some look at. And I don't have mobile either. So some perk time is going to be valuable. Absolutely. And then the other thing is going to be relics from archaeology. Now I'm going to look into this, and I mean, this is embarrassing a little bit, but it is what it is. I don't give a shit. Archaeology and myself do not mix very well at all. I only have 2 relics because I'm so lazy to go through into my collection logs. Something with me and archaeology just didn't sort of blend right, and I just hate the skill so much. I don't know what it is, but point is, I have conservation of energy, and I have Fury of the Small, so I save 10% adrenaline, and I get bonus adrenaline from my basics and stuff. These are good. These are absolutely fine. I believe these are the best options that I can have from what I have available to myself, but there may be something else I can do to, get a little bit of benefits from this. But it's worth mentioning these, your perks and your arc relics. Whenever there's a new boss coming out, you want to be prepared. It's going to be a hard fight. Definitely worth considering making sure these are up to date and ready to go. I'll spend some time, I'll look into it, and I'll see, what can I do that's not going to take me forever to get these relics actually going and ready to be, useful. Can I get a bonus and upgrade somewhere without too much effort? It's just, for me personally, archaeology, I wish I could just be, say I sack this off and done. As you guys can probably tell, I have such little unlocked. But, for you guys, look at your perks, look at your relics. And if there's any improvements you can make there without too much effort, then it's definitely going to be worth considering too. It'll be noticeable. Perks are huge. Perks are very noticeable in PvM. So another important thing to note is that Jagex did say that this is a group boss encounter designed for between 2 to 5 players, meaning that you are going to have at least needing one more person to be able to go in and take this boss on. So having a group prepared for the actual release is probably going to be pretty important and time saving, so that you're not sort of jumping all over the place again. Well, how do I find somebody that's my skill level and that I can enjoy this with and do it with? So definitely worth sort of planning that out. I'll be planning my team over the next week or whatever, just getting ready while I'm getting prepared and stuff. And I highly doubt that it's going to be like a try hard, let's try and race for worlds first, because I don't really plan on doing that anyway. I'll throw myself at the boss to learn the mechanics and do it on stream because it'll be fun. But chances are it'll just be, see what happens. But Jagex did recommend having 5 players for the race. So if you are looking to race, then having 5 players is probably going to be an important thing to plan out. Now, for those of you that are now thinking, oh, what? I have to have somebody else to do this with. What am I going to do? I don't know anybody else. Well, I'll have a link in the description to my Discord. Jump in there. I'm going to set up a few channels where people can jump in and sort of create groups. There'll be voice channels as well for when you guys actually go to the place. And what I'll do is I'll tier it. I'll have like an option for people who just want to go and check out the boss and they don't care if they get kills. They're not like overly massively into PvM. They just want to see what it's like so they can group up with other people doing the same thing. Then I'll have like a mid-level thing where people like expect to try and get kills, but I don't want to sort of like hold anyone back who's farming out massive loads of kills. And then I'll also have the higher level one where people are going in like, right, I've got kills already. I want to go in and absolutely slaughter this boss and farm it, and I just want to find a group of players who also have experience too. That way you guys can jump into a place where you know that you're not sort of asking outside of expectations, and if there's anything where you don't get kills, you've asked in the right place, all that sort of stuff. Just makes it a little bit less intimidating for those of you that aren't already in a group and are looking for other people. But also, I'm sure there's probably a actual official Discord for this boss, and if there is, then someone let me know in the comments what it is, and I'll put it in the description and whatnot, and you guys can find it that way too. The final thing that you're probably going to want to like really prepare on is going to be PVM supplies. These are going to spike up in price. Maybe they already have. I actually haven't checked, but they will do if they haven't already, because people are going to be going through a crap ton of PVM supplies for this release. It is a difficult, high-level endgame boss, and apparently the actual, world's first difficulty is going to be insane. So expect PVM supplies to be something that you're going to need a crap ton of, and make sure you stock up on these. There's not much more to talk about it. Make sure you have plenty of overloads and potions and like your food and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty straightforward, right? But that's it, other than the information of knowing that the initial launch is going to be only the world race mode, the highest difficulty, and then 3 hours later is when all of the other modes will unlock as well. Normal mode, and then I believe it is an enrage mode as well, so you can build that up. I'm assuming you'll have to do normal mode before you unlock the enrage mode anyway, so normal mode will release 3 hours after the actual initial launch with the world's first difficulty. It's also worth knowing that the world's first difficulty will still be available for the launch week to allow you to get the title and an aura to show that you actually did manage to do it. This is probably something that I'll try to do, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll at least give it a go for a while, right? If you can get your hands on an actual kill of the world's first difficulty, you don't have to be the first. You don't have to race. If you do get it in that week, then you'll still get a title and an aura, which is very cool. Anyway, hopefully you guys found this video helpful or useful. This is what I'm going to be doing to prepare for Amascut. I have so much to do, so many quests to get done now, and other than that, I will catch you all in the next one. So guys, have a good one. Bye.